Okay, so we are here today to talk about how to future-proof your finance career by joining the Microsoft space. So future-proofing careers is a really big topic right now in pretty much every industry, with what's happening with ChatGPT particularly. That's kind of triggered a little bit of concern on many people's side that, AI might be able to replace a number of the jobs that we currently know. That's coupled with an economic crisis, which is still happening in quite a few countries and making things challenging for a number of people. And so we've got quite a few professionals, particularly from the finance sector, that are coming to us regularly to explore how moving to Microsoft might be a way of future-proofing your career and maybe improving your financial situation, improving your future prospects, and everything that goes along with that. And within the topic of future-proofing your career, there's two different aspects that we're going to touch upon today. One is obviously whether Microsoft and technology as a space is a way for you to future-proof your career. But then there's also the matter of, once you are in the Microsoft space, how do you make sure that your career remains future-proof? Because there are things that can happen in the future. And of course, if you're going through a career transition, it's important to know that it's not going to be just a short-term improvement, but also a long-term improvement. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. And just so you know, so this is mostly targeted at finance professionals because we're going to be talking about specifically the Microsoft solutions that are good to target as a professional from the Microsoft space. But if you have a slightly different background, like maybe business analysis or supply chain, this is still going to be relevant to you. So you are very welcome to stay and listen and ask any questions that you may have. And speaking of questions, if you have any questions as I speak, please type them into the chat. I will be pausing on occasions to check what's in there. And at the end, I'm going to be leaving time to go back through everything that you might have typed and make sure that you get the answers that you're looking for. So the agenda, I've mentioned that already a little bit, but basically what we're going to do today is we're going to make sure you have all the information you need if you're looking to future-proof your career and you're considering the Microsoft space. So first of all, we'll talk about the Microsoft space specifically, what's the opportunity, what makes it a good area for someone with a strong finance industry experience or potentially other strong industry experiences. So that will answer the question, will moving to the tech space improve my situation now? We'll talk a little bit about the more specific career prospects in Microsoft ERP. So that's going to be a quick overview of what are the types of products you can work with and what are the types of roles that you can target. And then we'll spend a little bit more time speaking about your longer-term career development strategy. So if you move to the Microsoft space, how do you make sure that you protect yourself from your technology becoming obsolete? That's something that we hear a lot from people who are looking to make the transition. Yes, but what if I train into a Microsoft technology and then Microsoft retires it? And so I'm left with that investment that I've made, and I'm without a job and I'm without a technology and I have to reconvert all over again. So there's actually strategies that you can put in place that most professionals in the Microsoft space are already using, that are proven to work, that we're going to be presenting to you today. Before diving into this, a few words about me. So I'm Sandra Kutsenko. I'm the Director of Trading Services at 365 Talent Portal. And as a part of that, so I'm in charge of our learning and development activities, our training programs, and particularly I run and lead a program targeted at career changers who come into the Microsoft space. So we get them certified and we get them prepared to find jobs after their certification exams. So before moving to learning and career development, I spent a lot of time in hiring as well. So I've worked with quite a few employers in the Microsoft ecosystem, which is what gives me all that knowledge around what Microsoft ecosystem employers are looking for and how to support job seekers and career changers. And as part of that, I tend to create a lot of content around these topics, and I'm also occasionally a speaker trying to advocate for employers to hire more career changers and bring more talent into the Microsoft space. And a few words about 365 Talent Portal. We are a Microsoft Learning partner, but we are actually more than that. We're a career and skilling portal specializing in Microsoft technology. So we are focused specifically on Microsoft, which means that we have a very strong network in that area. We have a lot of expertise. We know a lot of people, and everybody in our company is able to offer really personalized and tailored advice to this particular industry. So as a company, we've been in the space for 10 years, and our founders before that were working for Microsoft or working for Microsoft partners. So that's really our passion, Microsoft technologies. And we're really passionate about supporting individuals and companies to find their success within this space. So that's where all of our solutions come from. And so that focus on hiring, training, and we also have a business building program for people who are looking to build Microsoft partner practices. If you ever get to that point, sometimes people who move to the Microsoft space end up building their own businesses. So this is kind of the whole life cycle of professional success in the Microsoft area that we cover. Now, so if you've been to one of my webinars before, you've seen this already. I love, before I dive into the topic, to learn a little bit more about the people who join. So I would like to invite you to, in a few words, type in the chat what brings you to this webinar, where you are in your career transition process, and what you're hoping to get from this webinar. And that'll satisfy my curiosity, but also that'll be useful if you tell me what you would really love to get from this webinar. Even if it's not in the slides, I can come back to your comments at the end of the webinar. And if I've got time, I'll answer your request now. If I don't, sometimes I reach out to you via email to follow up and give you the information you're asking for. So yeah, I would love for you to, as I'm speaking, please type in the chat and tell me a little bit about what brings you here and where you are and what you'd like to get from this session. Now, while you are typing, I will move to the next part, which is about what makes the Microsoft space future-proof. So obviously, we are talking about future-proofing careers. So why is it a good place for you to move to if you are concerned with future-proofing your careers? So the first thing is that Microsoft as a technology space is very solid and very well established. There's quite a few major players in the tech industry, and if you are in the finance space, there's probably a number of different software solutions that you've been exposed to when it comes to particularly accounting, with different levels of, community trust and different levels of durability. So Microsoft, the big upside, one of the big upsides is that it's very well established in the tech community. It tends to be leading tech evolution trends. So they do come up with innovation quite a lot, and they invest in innovation, and they come up. So right now they are very inserted into what's happening with AI, for example. So usually if there's something big happening in the tech space, Microsoft's going to be a part of it rather than being left behind. And they have the resources to keep investing in doing this. So that means that by getting into that particular space, you can have a reasonable level of confidence that you're in a space that is growing as tech trends grow. And the other element that's very relevant is that it's diversified. So a number of tech companies tend to have one or two big flagship products. Microsoft has a really wide range of software across things that are working. So they've got so many, for example, cloud solutions. They're very big into automation. We've talked about AI already. Um, and we'll talk about that later, why the diversity is important. But this is really a core element if you're looking for a future-proof space in the technology area. So even if you think, oh, Microsoft's not quite for me, and you want to look into other areas of tech, look into that. How diversified is the space that you're looking into, and how many other technologies does it connect to that you could easily learn? Because this is a big part of how you can make sure that things will be good for you on the long term. And of course, worldwide reach, which is also quite useful because not being geographically limited by opportunities can also really bring a lot. And especially now with, the remote working ways that we're adopting quite a lot. And with Microsoft in particular, a lot of the work that you would do as a Microsoft consultant would be remote and would be online. That opens up quite a lot of opportunities on the long term as well. Now, there's a link here at the bottom. So at the end of this webinar, we're going to be sending you the slides. This is if you want to learn more about the upsides of joining the Microsoft space outside of the future-proof element, you can click this link, and this is a webinar that's a bit wider, and that's about specifically the Microsoft opportunity. What are the other things that make it attractive aside from what I've just listed, and also how to get started with your Microsoft Space career project. So yeah, if you've not seen that webinar yet, you'll have the link and you'll be able to go and see it. Now let's dive a little bit more into Microsoft products. And the reason why I want to do this is I want to explain to you a little bit, for those of you who don't really know what kind of career opportunities are available for finance professionals in the Microsoft space. I just want to give you an overview, and we're not going to spend too much time on that, but so you've got an idea of like what sort of product you could be working with and what sort of role you could be taking on. And basically, as a finance consultant or finance analyst or even business analyst, you would most likely specialize into one of the two Microsoft ERP systems, because that's the most natural transition where your finance industry expertise would be the most useful. So I'll start at the very beginning. I mean, you probably already know this, but in case there's somebody on this call who does not, so ERP means Enterprise Resource Planning, and it's a collection or a category of software solution that allows company to manage their business processes, including finance processes. So accounting software is an ERP system. Usually they group things like accounting, HR, and then management of business processes like retail, supply chain, things that are specific to certain industries. And it's like that this big collection of interconnected apps that take care of managing and automating business processes and making companies' lives easier. So Microsoft has two different ERP solutions. The first one is called Dynamics 365 Business Central, and the second one is called Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. They do the same thing at different scales, and they kind of come from different products originally. But what you need to know is they cover similar functions, but at different scales and with different levels of complexity. So Dynamics 365 Business Central is a smaller solution that's easier to learn for you as a potential consultant and easier to implement with companies. There's less customization that's required, and it just offers fewer options. BC is more targeted at SMEs and medium projects. And I see a very good question, which is about the most definitive difference between the two ERPs, and it's really size. So it's size of the project, size of the companies that it targets, size of what it takes to learn it as well. So yeah, it's really a question of scale. So Business Central, usually it's easy for one person to learn it all fairly quickly. So if you train into Business Central, you'll see that actually training through the whole product takes only a few hours, maybe about 30 hours of like active training. Whereas finance and operations, which is much larger, if you wanted to learn the whole of finance and operations, you would need to do this over a few years because you need to learn the modules one by one because they're so big, each of them. Business Central is also a little more focused on accounting functions, so that's really the biggest part, and then the other parts are less developed. And then finance and operations, so it does similar things, but it's a larger solution. It has many modules. It requires a lot of customization. So typically when a company purchases finance and operations, the implementation project lasts several months. It's a really big thing with a lot of change management. You're working as a team with other people. And usually as a finance professional, you would start by learning just the finance module and then potentially expanding into other modules because it's so complex that you just cannot learn everything at the same time, like I was saying. So it's a longer project and it's targeted at multi-site and multinational companies rather than SMEs on the other side. So for you to make a choice between the two, both of those products are very successful. Both of them are receiving a lot of investments from Microsoft. So it's really more about your personal preference. Do you prefer to work with SMEs or with very large companies? Do you prefer to work on smaller projects or on larger projects? It's a very different sort of dynamic as well, bigger teams, smaller teams. So that would be the sort of things you need to think about if you're trying to choose as a consultant which of those two products to specialize into. And then a few words about the functional consultant role, because obviously within these two products, there's many roles that you can play. You've got developers, you've got project managers, you've got solution architects, and functional consultants. As somebody from the finance background, you would most likely start as a functional consultant. That would be my advice anyway, because obviously if you want to start as a developer, you're going to have to learn how to code, which is another step. And here in the functional consultant role, you'll be able to leverage a lot more of your industry expertise because you would be talking to clients who are having the same challenges that you've experienced while working in the finance industry. So a quick overview of this role, basically you would be working with clients, gathering their requirements related to their finance systems by running workshops. So it'll be a client that right now has either a very old finance system or different systems all over the place, and you would be helping them to make the transition to a Microsoft Dynamics system. So you would run workshops, gather requirements, understand their challenges and goals, and then you would design a plan for how Microsoft Dynamics can optimize what the client is doing and maximize their processes. And then you would perform some of the non-technical customization and setup and just guide the developers and work with them to build what the client needs. And then support user adoption by doing a little bit of user training and promoting the solution to stakeholders. And here again, if you want to learn more, there's a link to another webinar that we've run a little while ago that's specifically about the Dynamics 365 Finance Functional Consultant role. That's going to tell you more about Dynamics 365 Finance as a product and also about what it's like to be a functional consultant. Now, we're going to dive into the specific challenge of future-proofing your Microsoft career. So once you've moved into the Microsoft space, how do you make sure you don't get stuck with an obsolete technology? And the challenge around this, which is very real, is the fact that products and technologies retire. So let's imagine you get trained as a finance functional consultant. And then 5 years from now, Microsoft decides, actually, this product's not working the way we want it to. We're going to retire Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. And you find yourself stuck because you invested time and effort into learning this product, and now it's disappearing. What do you do? And that's something we hear quite a lot with the career changers who come to us. They are concerned that, investing time and effort into training and changing careers and then finding themselves without a job or without a technology. So there are methods that you can apply But the first thing that you need to understand is that technology obsolescence doesn't just happen overnight. So that's the first thing that I say to people who come to us with those challenges. When a technology requires, usually you'll start by seeing it slowing down. You'll see that there's a little less uptake on the client side. You'll see that Microsoft are actively pushing another technology. So you might see, okay, they're investing a lot into BC and not so much into finance right now. And that happens over several months, usually even years. So you have the time to plan when you start to see this happening. You're not just left, one day everything's great and the next day your technology is retired. Now, of course, ideally, you don't want to wait until your main product retires before you find a solution. And most of the people who exist and are successful in the Microsoft space are actually building up strategies and methods to ensure that they don't stay stuck with just one technology. And the solution is simple, and it's training. So every successful Microsoft space professional trains regularly. That's a big part. So that's actually something that's important for you to know as well if you're considering a move to the Microsoft space, that you will be needing to be willing and excited about the idea of training yourself and upskilling yourself regularly. And the good news is that there's a lot of tools that you can use, like Microsoft Learn. And once you're an experienced consultant, it's very easy to use Microsoft Learn to train yourself. So it's something that kind of you need to feel like, okay, yeah, I love the idea of keeping myself trained on new technologies. And the reason why it's great is that it kind of kills two birds with one stone. First of all, it will make you more valuable as a professional right now if you have more than one technology in your arsenal. And then, of course, what this means is in the future, if your first technology retires, you'll have others already that you have built up experience on and that you can continue and move to being your main technology. And that means you don't really use any seniority benefits in terms of your pay. You don't have to start over from scratch. You just can continue in this new technology space that you had reached. And the reason why it works is because Microsoft technologies are interconnected. So for example, if you train into Business Central or Dynamics 365 Finance, you will see that Power Platform is used a lot with Microsoft Dynamics. For example, Power BI is used quite a lot to build dashboards with Microsoft Dynamics. And so if you don't know how to do it, usually you'll be put into a team with someone who knows Power BI, and you'll be taking care of, for example, the finance setup. And your Power BI colleague is going to build the finance dashboards for you. So it's super useful if you want to increase your value even from the beginning to go, okay, well, actually, I'm going to learn how to build Power BI dashboards so that I can do that for my clients and I can be more valuable to my employer and I can have more opportunities. And then if ever finance retires, you can become a Power BI and Power Platform consultant and start learning about other connected technologies that work with Power Platform. That's one example, but there's many other options to choose from. And so I've listed them here of other solutions that connect with these two or make sense to learn in conjunction with these two. So Power Platform is a big one that I would really, really recommend to anybody who's starting a career in Microsoft Dynamics, because like I said, it connects with it and because it's really, really hot right now as a topic. And it's been, ever since it started, it's growing really quickly. Companies love it. Microsoft's investing in it. So whether you're going for Business Central or Finance first, Power Platform as your second area of focus is a really good career move. But you can consider Microsoft Azure as well. And we have a number of the top consultants we work with that are FNO and Azure, or FNO and Modern Work, which is Microsoft 365, Microsoft Office, Microsoft Security. The other ERP, so for example, if you start with Business Central, you could decide to train into FNO. I would recommend this less than the other solutions because usually, obviously, you will not connect BC with finance. They don't work together, so you would need to choose between BC projects and finance projects. So it doesn't really increase your value as a consultant as much as the other technologies that I've listed. It's more that it gives you another option if you really love ERP products. And then customer engagement, which can also be a good idea, but also Again, I would advise that less than the other solutions, just because customer engagement is also a really big piece and takes a lot to learn. And so typically, you would either specialize in one of the ERPs or customer engagement and then pick up one of these other smaller technologies that are easier to learn and for which there is a lot of demand. Now, to dive a little bit more deeply into Microsoft upskilling options. So I'll just give you a little bit more context so you have more information about each of them and you can start thinking on the longer term, because I think it's always good, if you're starting something new and you're thinking about beginning your path in the Microsoft technology, to be able to visualize that, okay, so if I'm starting as a finance functional consultant, what's going to be my next upskilling move? What do I want to learn afterwards? If you can project yourself in that, I think it really helps as well to have a notion of what your career path might be and what your opportunities might be. So this is the list of the different Microsoft solutions, like the main ones that you can train into. So in orange, you've got business applications. That includes the two ERP systems we've covered, BC and FNO, Microsoft Power Platform, and Dynamics 365 Customer Engagement. And then on the side, you've got Azure, Modern Work, and Security that we've mentioned. And so just in a few words, Microsoft Power Platform, like I was saying, so this is a solution that has several different products in it. So it's a combination of different software elements that include Power BI, Power Apps, Power virtual machines, all of that stuff. And what it does is it does business process automation. It allows you to build workflows. It allows you to display data in ways that make it easier to see. And it's a set of low-code solutions that you can learn how to implement without being a developer as well. So that's part of what makes it appealing. Power Virtual Agents, that's the one I was looking for. So that's basically one that allows you to build virtual agents, which is pretty cool, that you can connect to like websites and different solutions like that. And it keeps growing as a technology stack. So I'm very excited about Power Platform, and many people are. So I would really advise you to look into this one. Microsoft Azure, you're probably at least a little bit familiar with it. So Azure is Microsoft's set of cloud solutions. So it's got cloud hosting, it's got a bunch of app services, it's got AI and machine learning, a lot of data management related solutions as well. It's quite a complex stack, Azure. So if you want to learn Azure, it's an area in which you can upskill a lot. Wherever you start from, usually you would start with the Azure administrator path, and then from there you can learn in many different directions, and there's quite a bit of demand for support with Microsoft Azure, so it's a good area to upskill into as well. Then there's Modern Work, which is your employee productivity solution. And it's got Microsoft Office, it's got your Microsoft Teams. So this is basically something that every company needs to have in order for their employees to work well. And there's a need for support in how to implement these different solutions. And there's also a need for training, quite a lot actually, user training in this area. So that's an opportunity for upskilling there as well. And Security, which is basically a subset of Modern Work, is everything around threat protection and virus protection and online defense, which is also quite a hot topic right now. So it's a useful skill to pick up. And just so you know, those are not mutually exclusive. So it is common for people who start learning Microsoft Azure to also eventually train into Modern Work and Security. So there's for example, one of the consultants that we work with quite a lot right now was initially a finance and operations consultant, then upskilled into Azure, then added Modern Work, and then added Security. So he's got that like combination of skills. And if FNO disappears, he can actually still do quite a lot on his other technologies of specialization. So So that's a really good strategy. We have other consultants that specialize in customer engagement and then have upskilled into Power Platform and then are starting to look into Microsoft Azure. So there's different paths you can take, and you can also see how you feel about different technologies, how you as you progress through the space. And it just leaves you with quite a wide range of options to make sure that you don't stay stuck with something that might retire one day. And I'll just mention in a few words customer engagement because, well, it's a much less common career choice. It is still something you can do, and a few consultants do it to, for example, learn F&O and then learn customer engagement. So if you don't know what it is, it's basically the CRM part of Dynamics 365. So it includes solutions around sales, marketing, customer service. So it's about managing sales processes and sales pipelines, marketing, sends like social media postings, newsletters, lead management, customer service requests. There's a field service option module as well. That's quite interesting. So it is a possibility if you've got a really strong draw towards customer engagement, or if you're hired in a company as a finance consultant where this is a skill that is needed. And that's also a way that you can direct your choices between all these technologies. It's seeing based on where you are in the company where you're hired or the markets where you've started your career. What are the needs that are coming up most often where you see that there would be an opportunity for you right now to grow if you were to learn that particular technology? And if there's no clear guidance, I will say it again, Power Platform. It's a really good choice after an initial Dynamics training. So let me pause a moment and see if anybody has any questions, and I'll read. I've seen a few of you have posted around outcomes. So let me see if anyone had some questions I haven't answered. And if you've got any additional questions, please pop them into the chat. Okay, so no questions just yet. I see somebody's typing. Do we have any program for migration services? Do you mean data migration? Transition to cloud. Well, so transition to cloud so do you mean as a company, like supporting companies to transition to the cloud? So that would be included in pretty much every one of the solutions that we've covered today. So for example, if you're working I'll keep that same example. If you're a Dynamics 365 finance consultant, some of your clients will be working on-premise with on-premise systems. Finance is on the cloud, so all of those solutions are actually cloud-based, which means that part of your job might be to support the client to transition from an on-premise finance system to a cloud finance system. There's no specific tool or solution that's only about transition to the cloud. It would be more that as a part of working as a finance consultant or as an Azure consultant, you would be supporting sometimes companies to transition to the cloud, or sometimes they'll be transitioning from another cloud-based solution into a Dynamics cloud-based solution. That's usually the way that this works. And then how do you switch to tech without technical experience? That's the biggest challenge of making the switch, is finding the first job. So, and technical experience, I want to clarify. So if you're becoming a functional consultant, you don't need technical experience in the sense that you don't need to know how to code. However, it's true that most employers in the Microsoft space want somebody who's already got a little bit of experience with the product. So if you get trained and you get certified, it's a little more challenging to find your first employer because many of them want people who are already experienced. Now, what I say to all of our career changers, because that's their main challenge as well, is it just takes a little bit of dedication. And we know many very successful consultants who've done that, started as accountants, trained, got certified, and then found a job. It takes longer than once you have experience. So once you've got your first year of experience, it becomes so much easier. So what you need is the right job search strategy. You need to also have maybe someone who can help open some doors for you and give you some employer exposure. And you also need dedication and determination and persistence. And actually, so long as you've got your certifications, so that would be my advice, you need to have your certifications first. And then if you keep trying and you keep applying with the right application strategy, eventually you will find something. And I say that with a lot of confidence because there's a very strong need for talent in the space right now. And speaking of which, with the last few minutes that are left to us, and I'm glad you asked that question because it's a perfect introduction. So for those of you, if any of you are actually interested in transitioning to the Microsoft space and want some support in doing so, we have a Career Changer Academy right now for finance functional consultants. The next cohort starts on the 16th of October. And what we do is we support you to make the transition by providing you with learning path to follow, with support and access to an MCT. We give you access to hands-on labs and everything that you need to do to learn on a self-paced basis with support and get your certifications. And then once you have your certification, we support you to optimize your job search. So that's part of what you were asking, Bensal. There's a few things that if you learn them, things related to how to customize your CV, how to leverage your LinkedIn profile, that makes things a lot easier when you're looking for a job. And also, we have a strong network of employers. And what we do for our Career Changer Program graduates is we share their profiles with our employers in our books. And so that's about 2,500 employers that receive your profile and get encouraged to reach out to you. So there's things like this that we do to support you. And in this program, we cover all the courses from fundamentals all the way to the associate level certification. And the price is much, much, much lower than what typical instructor-led training would cost because we use that self-paced approach. So it's designed to be more affordable for somebody who's in a career transition and also to be manageable in parallel with a full-time job. It's a bit of a push. I'm not going to lie. It's about 15 to 20 hours per week. So you would have to spend some time in the evenings and weekends to train yourself. But that's still doable, and our graduates get certified with this. So what we want to do is really with the program give you trust in your professional future, confidence in your skills. We want to really empower you for your job search and also prepare you to be successful on the longer term in the Microsoft ecosystem. And I want to share with you a special offer for you in this webinar. If you're interested and you want to explore it, I'd like to invite you to apply before the end of this week. And if you decide to proceed after the application, we'll give you a 10% discount on the cost of the cohort. So just so you know, the application is not a commitment yet. You will be invited for an interview. We'll talk to you. We'll make sure that the program's right for you. We'll give you a chance to ask questions. And then if you decide to proceed, you'll get that discount so long as you've applied by end of the week. So yeah, if you're interested in a discussion, then don't hesitate to do that. I also want to say that we offer payment in installments. That's something that we know quite a lot of people enjoy as part of this program. So that's a possibility as well if that helps you register to the program. Now, the MB300 course is going to be suspended in February. Let me look that up. So let me look into this a little bit more. That's an excellent question that we need to consider very carefully. So typically with these sorts of situations, when Microsoft retires a course like this one, there's going to be some form of a replacement. So we will find out what is the plan that Microsoft has in order to replace MV300 and the knowledge that's in it. So there's going to be something else that is going to come up. And we will adapt the program to match whatever is coming up instead of MB300. So we'll make sure that before the next cohort starts, we know exactly what's happening, and we'll have a contingency plan in place for anybody who's in it. One thing I want to share with you as well before we go, right now we are having a little bit of a challenge with our website, and it is possible that for today the links might not work. So you'll see there's been a little bit of a mix-up with our development team and our SSL certificate. So our site is secure. It's just that you'll see if you click the links, it's possible that for today you'll get a warning that the site is not secure. So if that happens to you and you're looking for information, please reach out by email. So we'll give you information so you can email us, and we'll give you other ways to find out more about the course. So we'll share a PDF course outline with you instead of sending you to the website for now. But the email boxes are still working, so please don't hesitate to reach out in a different way. Yes, okay, Joanna, thank you for letting us know. So we're on it, we're working on it very actively. Now I see, so we've reached the end of our webinar. People are already starting to head out to their next course. So I want to thank you all for joining today and for your active participation in the chat. And we'll be emailing you with the slides and the webinar recording and information for contacting us if you want to learn more about the Career Changer program. Or if you've got any other questions about career changing in general, you are very welcome to reach out to us via email. And yeah, I wish you a lovely rest of your day.